thankfully, right around midnight, I'm down the flats with my neighbor. I get a text from my other neighbor who lives next door. He said, "Hey, power's back. I'm sure it's back for you." And we partied like the Cavs won the championship again. I'm not kidding you. It was cause for celebration, and I paid for it the next day, but it was all worth it.
Nick got blacked out to celebrate the end of a blackout.
Essentially, yes.
And speaking of getting the party started,
for the victory lap, though. They ain't never seen nothing like this before. Lit the room when I came through the front door. Ask me if I stress overcome, what for? Train in the trees, please walk my sycamore. Touch burning sands, cross lands, and stormy shore seasons in the year. Switch gears, with keeping haters in the rear. At the blood, sweat, and tears, and my goal so near. I see my victory so clear. I see my victory so clear. It's a J, we break through. 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 It's a J, we break through.
What's up, everybody? Nick, that face just threw me way off, and we're already off the rails. It's episode 43 of your favorite podcast that covers exclusively Formula One and Football Americain, as the French say. It's the Gridiron Podcast, episode 43 this week, the Troy Polamalu episode. But who else could it be? Yes. I am Sean Barie. If you're watching on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube, up in your left-hand corner, the man holding down the land, the bald behemoth, Nick Shook. And then up in the right-hand corner, we have our Canadian queen, Katie Caldwell. Guys, how you doing this week?
Nick, I'll let you go.
I was drinking water trying to open the door for you. Way to go. I was making a weird face because I'll just broach the subject now. You guys all know about the Death of the Around the NFL podcast and how there are now two podcasts, NFL Daily and Heed the Call. And Heed the Call released their debut episode today. And we're getting a lot of strange vitriol from fans directed toward those of us at NFL Daily, as if two podcasts can't coexist. And I was just making a strange face because that's a weird way to react, guys. Okay, that's weird. Otherwise, I'm doing great, Sean. I didn't have power for 3 days last week. I was living in the Stone Ages. My house was hot.
We went through a literal hurricane down here in Florida, and all of a sudden a thunderstorm pops up in Cleveland, and you lose power, and our lights didn't even flicker.
And not just a thunderstorm. There were 5 confirmed tornadoes in Northeast Ohio, all in the greater Cleveland area. One of them just west of where I live. Another one was macro burst, which I didn't know existed. I thought it was just micro bursts. 100 mile an hour straight wind.
Straight line winds can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, it knocked out power for over 450,000 customers in the area.
Basically, the city of Cleveland.
Me and my neighbors did not have power for days. I was forced to work out of coffee shops. Internet was not very accessible. I learned I have bad reception in my house, but we made it work. We all made it work. I got the power back. We're back, baby. Katie, after that very long intro and explanation, how are you?
I don't have a lot going on right now. My life's just kind of boring this week.
That's
not
good.
a lot of updates for you guys.
Yeah.
The Olympics are over. That kind of was my personality for the last 2 weeks. I need to figure out who I am again.
Did the drone finally land?
The drone?
Yeah. Did Canada finally land its drones?
Oh, good one, Sean. Good one.
I've been holding that one for a while. I was waiting to use it on the podcast. You Canadian cheaters. How dare you?
Right over my head. Doesn't take much, does it?
Normally drones do go over your head. Like I said, this is episode
over my head because I'm bald.
Yeah.
How are you, Sean?
I'm doing great. I have a business trip to go on this week while simultaneously preparing for another move. So yeah, things are great. Things are just
you're playing a road game in the NFL business trip?
Yeah, we're going up to Jacksonville this week. I leave tomorrow.
Land of the fans you hate the most. Congrats.
Yes. I ended up to Duval. That should be a great time. Just covering the NFL in a swamp, a literal swamp.
There it is.
Why does it even
bring your powder, baby powder, gold bond? It'll help you out.
Oh, absolutely. Always gotta have the gold bond on deck. We have a special episode today because normally we do talk Formula One and football, but because we took a week off last week, we just decided, you know what, we didn't feel like doing it. Quite honestly, our schedule.
No, I didn't have power. The excuse is built in. I did not have power from Tuesday.
I thought you had power Monday night. I had to go to a
Wednesday,
concert. I
Thursday,
thought the excuse was on me because I was going to a
no,
concert.
it's me. Just blame it on me. I got one.
All right, Nick didn't have power. It's on him. So we have to catch up with our division preview series. So we're going to do 2 tonight. We're going to knock out both Easts, the NFC and AFC East. No Formula One talk. So if you came here for Formula One, please stick around because I'm sure you'll still, like us talking about our lives and football and how they intertwine and making fun of one another. So, guys, I believe we said we're going to start with the NFC East, correct?
Sure.
Cool. Sure, okay, because those are the graphics that I popped up. So, Nick, if you want to pop up the NFC East graphics, as always, here's how we do this with our division previews. We start with the division winner. We work our way down from the last year. I read out the schedule. Nick's going to have it up on our screen here if you're watching on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube. And, we're just going to give an over or under on their wins total, and we discuss. And hilarity usually ensues. I say usually. Let's start off with the Cowboys, Nick. America's team, kind of, sort of. Cowboys. Yeah, just meh. All right. Starting off week 1 on the road against where, Nick? Who?
The Cleveland Browns, 425 kick. Late window.
Brownie Elf back on the field. I love it. Then they're back home for weeks 2 and 3 against the Saints and Ravens. Back on the road, 4 and 5 against the Giants and Steelers. That'd be a fun one in Pittsburgh. Week 6 against the Lions at home, and then their bye week is week 7. Weeks 8 and 9 on the road against the Niners and Falcons. Sneaky tough stretch right there. And then you've got the Eagles and Texans at home, 10 and 11. Week 12 on the road against the Commanders. Then you've got the Giants and Bengals at home. Back on the road in Carolina. Week 16 here in Tampa Bay to face the Bucs. Week 17 up at the Eagles. And then week 18 rounding things off with the Commies at home. Cowboys won 12 and 5 last year. Kind of got a backdoor division championship because the Eagles decided to, the bed down the stretch. This is a tough schedule for a team that really didn't add anything in the offseason.
Quiet offseason. Very quiet.
Very quiet offseason. You have a fan base that's clamoring for just another piece, something. They did not extend CeeDee Lamb. They did not extend Dak Prescott. Jerry Jones, I don't know what he's doing down there in Cowboy land, or I guess they're in California for training camp, which is always weird. But this is a tough schedule. And as their roster is constructed right now, I mean, I don't think they're going to be any worse than they were last year, but I don't know if they're going to be any better either. So I'll set the line at 10.5.
Okay.
Ooh, that's high. I'm under for sure.
Okay.
You said it, Sean. This schedule does look really tough. I don't know about you guys, but it feels to me like the Cowboys' window is closing.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of question marks, especially this season with Dak, with Mike McCarthy. I don't really know what they're doing with their run game. Like, you lose Tony Pollard and then you bring back Zeke. I don't really know who Dak's going to throw to.
That's the biggest what the hell in the world.
Exactly. It felt like they were just trying to catch up afterwards, and it just doesn't look like that was a cohesive, well thought out plan. I just don't really know who Dak's going to throw to other than CeeDee. You lose Dan Quinn, who I'm such a fan of. You bring in Mike Zimmer. I have like 9 and 8. And even then, I'm not super inspired by this Cowboys team. They have too many question marks for me. And I think we're going to see a pretty big loss with Dan Quinn walking out the door.
Okay, so the Zimmer thing is annoying to me. And it's because it's been the only storyline with the Cowboys, because the beat doesn't have much else to talk about. You can beat the dead horse that is Dak Prescott's contractual situation to death if you want to. But look, the Cowboys already said we're not adjusting it. We're letting him play it out. This is lame duck / prove it year for Dak Prescott. Kind of a peculiar decision unless the Cowboys anticipate massive changes coming, and they're really not prepared for that. It's a do or die year across the board. So to then divert all your attention to, our defense is going to be awesome because Mike Zimmer's our DC now. He's going to do things with Micah Parsons that we've never seen. Like, that's all that's coming out of that camp right now. And Mike is talking about how he's got it down pat, and his teammates are going to get beat the rest of camp, and that's just going to be how it is because he's a dog. That's been the only thing that came out of there. And I'm just, I don't know. I'm over it. I'm over it because, like, look, man, let's get on the field and play, because y'all didn't get any better in the offseason. You don't have CeeDee Lamb in camp because of his contract. Dak's got all the pressure in the world on his shoulders. Mike McCarthy's got all the pressure on the world on his shoulders. It honestly feels like McCarthy got put in an unwinnable or a very difficult situation, especially for a coach who maybe could have gotten fired last year because of how they finished in the playoffs. After winning 12 games, they flopped, in super wild card weekend against the Packers. I am not going quite as low as you, Katie, but because they didn't get any better and they don't have their best receiver in camp right now, I just don't feel great about their outlook when you look at this schedule. I ran down this and I kind of gave some toss-ups to them. Like I gave them Eagles at home a win, but I give the Eagles on the road a loss. I went 10-7 as like peak. So I'm also under. And man, they go 10-7 and like they're flirting with missing the playoffs. Mike McCarthy's out of a job. And what does Jerry Jones do at that point? I don't know. I mean, it's a weird spot for this franchise right now.
I really have to stop letting you go before me, Nick, because you keep taking all of my predictions and all of the points I want to hit. I'm also going 10-7, so I'm going under. All three of us are going under. For the simple reason that I said at the start of this, it's a really tough schedule, and you're right. There's a lot of toss-ups on there. Like, man, like even
week one,
exactly. Like the Browns are not going to be an easy out. You look at, I gave them a win against the Steelers. Obviously, they're going to probably sweep the Giants, but the Bucs are hard. The Commanders aren't going to be an easy out, but the Falcons aren't going to be an easy out. Obviously, the Niners are. I went 10-7 for the simple fact that this is still a good team and should be able to win 10 games. If they don't, then Mike McCarthy's gone, even with 10 wins. And like you said, flirting with missing the playoffs, he might be out of a job anyway. My question is, and I don't want to bring this up because I don't want to sound mean or like, I don't want to be that guy, but like, what is Jerry Jones doing? Like, there was so much.
That's not mean.
Inaction.
That's very valid.
Well, I was about to say, like, is it time for him to pass the baton?
It was 15 years ago.
Is he getting up there in age to the point where it's like, Jerry, like, you didn't do anything this offseason. We still have contracts that need either extended or we need to, trades or just we need to do something. Nothing was done. The big thing was bringing back Zeke. That's it. Like, that's what you did this offseason? That's insane. So
do you know that they're paying Zeke more on his previous contract still than they are now? Like his current contract
they're still paying for his previous contract?
I did not know that.
Oh, man.
Also, another nugget that Greg and I discussed on NFL Daily today. Well, it was today. We talked about it last night when we recorded the show. The backup quarterback situation just kind of illustrates how Jerry is operating this team. Apparently, when they traded for Trey Lance, he just did it. He didn't tell anybody. He didn't tell Mike McCarthy. He just went and did it. Like, if that's how your organization is running, I can understand why you can't get past the divisional round. Sure, you can make that move and get a bunch of different talented guys, but if you're not operating in lockstep, you're bound to run into pitfalls. You're bound to run into bumps in the road, and it's just not going to be, one track operation. So I just don't have a lot of confidence in them. I thought they overachieved last year. It was actually refreshing to see Mike McCarthy take over the offense and produce. I don't think that saves his job if they end up winning as many games as we project for them. So not looking great for them.
The more I hear stuff like that, it just really reaffirms of what I said of like, yeah, I think we are so long overdue of the Jerry Jones era. Like, that's
but
so
it's not
wild.
Change.
But he's not.
I
he's
know
not
it won't
remove himself. He's not going anywhere.
Oh,
no,
I think we all know that. But when I hear stuff like that, it's like, God, I'm so happy I'm not a Cowboys fan.
He's done a lot of good for the NFL, and I will never take that away from him. But when it comes to operating this team, there's just a lot of situations where I'm like, like when they were on Hard Knocks one year, and like they should have eaten like an Egg McMuffin in the morning in his office, and like putting salt on it.
I'll never forget that. Like, yeah, they're notably not salty enough, and the amount of salt he was putting on it, Nick, that still stands out to
my
me.
mom's like that. I'm not gonna lie, my mom's like that, and I've always been like, Mom, aren't you worried about like how that's gonna affect your blood pressure? She goes, oh no, I have really low blood pressure. It's hereditary. I was like, oh, okay, cool,
good for you.
Yeah. Quick pivot to the chat. Got to give a shout out to COD MF Doom. First off, two great references: Call of Duty and MF Doom, one of the greatest, most underrated rappers in history. RIP. He said, long-time listener, first-time Twitch watcher. Let's go, Pipe. Thank you for watching this show. We all appreciate you very much. We appreciate you, and welcome aboard. All right, let's get to the next team, Sean.
Yeah. Who finished second? 'Twas the Eagles from Philadelphia.
Go Birds.
Gay Birds. Gotta get to Wawa Hagee. Oh man.
Pittsburgh fan.
What?
Pittsburgh fan. I don't think people in Philly talk like that.
Yeah, they do.
Like that? That sounded a lot
Yeah.
like Pittsburgh to me.
These guys gained a Hagies or something like that. Yeah, it's more nasally. It's like Pittsburgh,
Nails
but
on a
like move it to
chalkboard.
the east, and it's way more nasally. Oh yeah, I think it even sounds worse than the Yinzers. All right, finished 11-6 last year, 11-6, and just did such a choke job down the stretch. Really couldn't get anything established on the road. They were 6-2 at home, 5-4 away. And they end up just coming down here to Tampa for the Super Wildcard game against the Bucs, and Baker Mayfield made them look silly. So there's a lot of also drama happening this offseason that we have to address. There's apparently a rift between Nick Sirianni and between Jalen Hurts. And when there's a rift between the head coach and the quarterback, what does that mean for the season? Well, we're about to find out, because they're starting week 1 in Brazil, taking on the Packers. Week 2, back at home against the Falcons. Weeks 3 and 4 on the road against the Saints and Bucks. Early bye week in week 5. Then week 6 back home against the Brownies. What's up?
I just said early bye. Wow. Week 5.
Early bye. Week 7 and 8 on the road against the Giants and Bengals. Then week 9 against the Jags. Week 10 on the road against the Cowboys. 11 back home against the Commies. Week 12 and 13 on the road against the Rams and Ravens. It's a tough stretch. Then you got the Panthers and Steelers at home, week 14 and 15, 16 on the road against Washington, and then wrapping things up week 17 and 18 against the Cowboys and Giants. You look at the schedule, obviously the Cowboys are going to be difficult out, but then you also got the Falcons, you got the Bucks, you got the Browns. Still don't know what the Steelers are going to be. The Rams should be a tough team. The Commanders shouldn't be an easy team. Packers, this is also a difficult schedule. They won 11 games last year. I can't set it too low because that's going to make things too easy. So I'm going to set the line exactly what I had it last time for the Cowboys, over under 10.5.
Katie, go ahead. I'm having a hard time controlling myself right now.
I can't stop. I have to mute my mic every time Sean calls them the commies.
What's wrong with that? That's what they are.
So hard at that, and I just started laughing so hard, trying to be as quiet as possible.
You don't like the commies? The Washington Commies.
Oh, goodness. Anyways. You said it, Sean. They imploded at the end of the season. Like when we talked about the Cowboys, because the Cowboys won the division last year, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget that because it feels like the Eagles lost the division more than the Cowboys actually winning it. Yeah. 1-6 down the stretch is really, really tough. Like they fell off so hard. And a lot of games I remember watching just being like, who are these players? What are we doing here? A lot of my uncertainty with this team is with coaching. Is Nick Sirianni still the guy? Like you said, we've heard a bunch of rumors about different rifts happening. I'm curious to see how Kellen Moore fits. But what changes and how do you avoid the same mistakes as last year? Because it felt like such a notable collapse that was hard to watch. Like when they were in the playoffs, it felt like Baker was going to walk all over them, and they did, which just seems obscene to think about.
Right.
A lot of the talent is still there. I love the Saquon pickup. They're a team that, but I thought this last year too, when you look at them on paper, it looks like they can compete for either the NFC or a Super Bowl, but they just have to put it all together. And the way that it collapsed last year, like I was surprised they ran it back with Sirianni, if I'm honest. They lose Jason Kelce. Like that's a big loss, obviously offensive line wise, but then also just like what he brings to the team. Like I said, they just have to put it all together. And I don't necessarily know how much faith I have 11-6. I think they'll be over. I think they'll kind of be around there, but I wouldn't be shocked if it kind of fell apart a bit to the tune of last season.
Yeah. Sorry, Sean, I'm going in front of you again, and you're just gonna have to deal with it.
Go for it.
I honestly think that they are over, and I want to be like, this is their division to win, because I don't think anybody in the division got better. Maybe the Commanders. That's it. And they're still a far cry from being in contention. So if I have to pick one by default, I pick the Eagles, but it's not without concern for what you just described, Katie, which is that, the way last season ended was horrid. I mean, it was just ugly. It was so painful to watch. I mean, this is a team with a ton of talent that couldn't figure out how to walk. They had their shoes on backward. That's how they played football down the stretch.
And they had such a good start. Like
yeah,
it was,
they looked great. They looked just like the
distinct.
team that made the Super Bowl and almost won it the year before. And there's no real explanation other than the fact that I think Nick Sirianni got a needed dose of humble pie as a head coach. He did not maintain control of the offense properly, and he had no grip on what was going on the defensive side of the ball. It started with hiring Sean Desai to run the defense. It continued with suddenly making Matt Patricia the play caller, but not really, but kind of. And that was actually even worse. Both of those guys are gone now. Vic Fangio's in place there in a city where he said he always wanted to finish his career because that's where he started way back in the USFL days. And it feels like maybe they've addressed all the concerns, not without drama. We went to that press conference after the end of the season. It took them about 5 days after they had finished their season with that loss to the Buccaneers before they finally gathered for the media. And there was legitimate concern at that time that Nick Sirianni was going to lose his job because of how bad their collapse was. I give them credit for keeping status quo with the need or demand to be better next year. And Sirianni himself had gone on record and said that he admitted he failed them last year. Now, I worry that you'll get a Sean McVay over-prepare for the Super Bowl and only score 3 points situation from Nick Sirianni, even though he's not quite as much of a grinder of a coach as the obsessive McVay is. But it's still, the fact that he recognized that he didn't do a good enough job is encouraging to me because they still have a ton of talent on both sides of the football. I think the defense will be in order this year, which is a big Achilles heel for them last year. You love the addition of Saquon Barkley. I'm not saying it's necessarily an upgrade over DeAndre Swift, but it's more than a lateral move. So I guess technically that means it is an upgrade. The fact that they stole him from a division rival just makes it that much more dramatic and sweet for me. And I think that, they got all the pieces they need to be successful. Even the loss of Jason Kelce, while massive, Jason Kelce helped them pick Cam Jurgens. They asked him a few years ago, scout these centers in this class and tell us which one you think would be best for us. He said, hey, Cam Jurgens, which is one of my favorite players of the combine. Nebraska kid, can move really well, similar to Kelce in his build and his play style. So I think that loss won't be as significant as we think. Maybe some bumps in the road early, but ultimately, I like what this team looks like on paper. They have enough talent to win the division as long as they just get out of their own damn way. That was the biggest issue last year. So I'm going over. I'm going to go 11 or 12, and they win the division.
I've also got the over. I've got them at 12 wins just because of, like you said, on paper, this is the best team in the division and one of the best teams, not just in the NFC, but in the NFL. Like, this is a team that should be there. There was a loss of, I don't know, you want to call it a loss of swagger last year. Down here, week 3, week 4, whatever it was, Monday night, Bucks, Eagles, and half the stadium was wearing green. They not really blow out, won by like 2 or 3 possessions, but they beat the Bucks, who were flying high at that point. Nick Sirianni goes up into the stands and is high-fiving Eagles fans down here on the road. And there was just a swagger about this team. And then somewhere along the way, that disconnect happened, and they just plummeted. You can't have that again. As long as the message is, we know what we can do, we cannot lose sight of it. I don't think it was a lack of talent last year at all. I don't think it was a lack of preparation. It was a lack of they lost something that isn't quantifiable, and they need to hold on to it this season. So I've got them at 12 wins just because, I'm not going to doubt this team because it is still on paper one of the best teams in the NFL. So I've got them at 12 wins.
There was a lack of synergy. I think back to when they went on the road and played the Chiefs and won, and Sirianni was talking all kinds of smack as he left the stadium. That was like the high point for them. They need that swagger again. But in order to get that swagger back, they got to prove that they're on the same page. And they weren't down the stretch. So I think we're all right in our fears with this team, our concern that they can't be trusted. But I also think that we're going to get to like week 8 and be like, all right, I think I can trust them again.
Right. Yeah. You kind of looking at them, the side of your eye, like, are you going to do this to me again, or we good?
I built walls to protect my heart, Nick Sirianni.
All right, moving on. Let's go to the third place team last year, the Giants. Wow, look at the Giants with 6 wins last year. Good for you, Giants. Ain't going to get 6 wins this year, I can tell you that much. Starting off week 1 against the Vikings, then on the road, weeks 2 and 3 against the Commanders and Browns. The Commies and Browns. Week 4 against the Cowboys, 5 on the road against the Seahawks. Weeks 6 and 7 at home against the Bengals and Eagles. Then on the road in Pittsburgh, week 8, week 9. Back at home against the Commanders, week 10. in München against the Panthers. Then they've got their bye week 11. Week 12, back at home against the Bucks. 13 on the road against the Cowboys. Weeks 14 and 15 at the Meadowlands, taking on the Saints and Ravens. Week 16 against the Falcons on the road. 17 back at home against the Colts. And rounded things off against the Eagles in South Philly. I don't know what you can say about this team other than I think they are the odds-on favorite. I think they are the unanimous pick to finish at the bottom of the division and possibly the bottom of the NFL. The way that they looked on Hard Knocks, even the off-season Hard Knocks, where their GM had no idea that they were about to lose Saquon Barkley and basically told him, yeah, go see what you're worth and then come back to us. And Saquon's like, okay, bet. And then did not come back to them is hilarious.
It was a refreshing take, by the way, because at one point they're all sitting there with a bunch of front office people. They're like, free agency sucks, man. Like, you don't know what the market's going to be. You can't control any of this. And then all of a sudden he's gone. Like, he's on the phone with Saquon's agent. He's like, is it in the division? No, I just want to know. Is it in the Okay.
It
okay.
made them look so terrible. And if you're the Maras, how do you not fire him on the spot and go, oh my God, you are incompetent in what you do?
It's like, what's that movie, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where he's like, is there someone else? And she's like, no, there's not. Like, is there someone else? And then she's like, yes, there's someone else.
Yes, there's someone else.
I'll just know the rock star. All right, so I'm done interrupting you. I'm sorry.
Oh man. They won 6 games last year. And I hate to set the bar so low, but I'm just looking at this schedule. Can they beat the Vikings? Maybe. Can they beat the Browns? No. Commanders? No. Cowboys? No. Seahawks? Probably not. Bengals? Eagles?
They could make it interesting with the Commanders.
They could.
And also, we do this every year, and then it...
I know. I feel like I pick on the Giants.
And then the weirdest shit happens on Sundays.
I will have you remember, though, that last year I said Giants 6.5. I went under, and they finished at 6 wins. So thank you very much. The Sean Barie Sportsbook, undefeated. Not really, but we'll call it undefeated. In this case, Cowboys, Saints, Ravens, Falcons. I mean, there's not a lot of easy outs here, so I'm going to set the line at 5.5. 5.5. Because I think they'll do worse than last year. Over under 5.5. Nick, go ahead and start.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess chivalry's dead. Sorry, Katie. Okay, 5.5 is pretty damn low. And as I play the schedule game, I could see them coming out of the gate with 2 fluke wins and being 2-0, and then promptly losing 6 straight, and then like getting a rematch
I was
with the Commanders.
I was going to say, you Sam Darnold week 1 at home against the Vikings. Yeah, I can see them winning that game.
Yeah, at like Falcons, Colts, like I just don't see a lot of wins here. Look, last season, a big reason why they derailed so quickly is because Daniel Jones was hurt for most of the year, which honestly, if you look at his stats over his career, he's played more games than I think you expect, because the whole story with him throughout his career in my head has been like, oh, he's hurt again. Something else happened. But last year was a career low in terms of games played. And the fact that we ended up with Tommy DeVito playing quarterback kind of tells you the story of their entire season. Passing Paisano aside,
I forgot about him.
It's crazy agent. I'm going under. I'm going to go under. What'd you say? 5.5? I'll sit at 5. Like this is a 5-12 team and a new regime coming in and a new quarterback. Like no knock on Brian Dable, but I felt the first year that he was there, that was a fluke. The fact that they got to the playoffs was a fluke. The fact that they paid Daniel Jones was just bad business, and franchise tagged Saquon. And I mean, I wouldn't pay a running back, but I wouldn't pay Daniel Jones either. I think it's just, this is the year it all blows up. I'm going under.
I also have 5 wins for them, Nick. We are on the same page as per usual. I'm also in the camp as most folks that I don't understand why they went all in on Daniel Jones. I don't think that's a $40 million quarterback.
No.
They are among the lower teams for me. If I were to be challenged with, okay, like if you have to watch them, what are you looking forward to seeing? I think their front 7 on defense is somewhat exciting.
Yeah, it'll keep them in games.
Past that, things get a little tougher. Like I think the front 7's going to have to be very good. But like that can win you some games here and there. Their offense, I just don't feel excited about. Their whole team in general, I don't really feel excited about.
Malik Neighbors is now injured too.
I saw that, and like he is a bright spot for me that I'm excited to see what he looks like in the NFL. I don't think he's set up the best relative to other star wide receivers, or potential star wide receivers. But yeah, the Giants to me are just like, they're the equivalent of the Patriots that we're about to talk about. I don't have a lot to say. I don't want to think about them a lot. Kind of curious to see how different things look without Wink Martindale. But overall, still don't have a lot of curiosity with the Giants. I'm not going to be tuning in super big time.
Yeah, they feel like the Titans felt last year. Like just very uninspired. And they actually played better than I thought they would last year. Look, tip of the cap to the schedule makers for taking Giants Panthers and putting it in Munich. You want to get a sold out stadium for an otherwise crappy game. That's how you do it. You put it in Germany, baby.
We are not allowing Carolina to sell $1 tickets to this game like they did last year several times. We're going to Munich. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the Giants because I don't want to think about them anymore. I've got them at 5 wins too, so I've got them at under, just for the simple fact that the Eagles kind of got better. The Cowboys didn't get better, but they're already good, and the Commanders got better. The Giants did not get better this offseason. So I'm going under as well, and I think they might just blow it up next year. You say, though, that Daniel Jones isn't a $40 million quarterback, considering what quarterbacks go for nowadays. Baker Mayfield, $100 million. Daniel Jones is a $40 million quarterback, but $40 million.
I still don't think so.
$40 million don't buy you a good quarterback no more.
$40 million.
And I don't think he's a very good quarterback.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's 40. He's worth $40 million because he's not very good.
That Baker contract, there's a little bit of detail in there that makes me think it may not see the end if things don't go well.
Correct. I know. Look, not to talk too much, but yeah, the Bucs protected themselves and Baker protected himself. It was a good contract for both parties, I think. I think both parties walked away and were like, all right, this works.
Yeah. Comparison.
Right. All right. Last team on this schedule for the AFC East. It kind of an interesting one. The Commanders. All right. Finished with 4 wins last year. They go out and they get the Heisman Trophy winner in Jaden Daniels. They have a new coach in Dan Quinn. Kind of didn't seem like he was their first choice for head coach or their second or maybe even their third, but he is now their head coach. What are we thinking here? Because we got on the road against the Bucs week 1, back at home against the Giants, week 3 and 4 on the road against the Bengals and Cardinals. Then you got the Browns at home week 5, week 6 against the Ravens, 7 and 8 against the Panthers at home, 9 on the road against the G-Men, week 10 in Pittsburgh, or at home against Pittsburgh, I should say, week 11 on the road against the Eagles. Then you got the Cowboys and Titans at home. Bye week is week 14. Holy crap, that is a long stretch. Week 15 on the road against the Saints, then at home against the Eagles and Falcons, and week 18, you round things off in Jerry World. They won 4 games last year. They shook things up, okay? We praise the Eagles for keeping things status quo, but sometimes you really do need to shake things up. In the case of the Commanders, they definitely needed to shake things up. That being said, I like that they got better this offseason. Jaden Daniels did look good in his first preseason game.
Yep.
Probably looked the best-ish. I mean, Caleb Williams looked pretty good, and so did Bo Nix.
JJ McCarthy looked pretty good.
They all looked good. Actually, all the rookies did look good. I'm not going to lie. But I like Jaden Daniels. Let's go 6.5. Let's go 6.5.
I have the over. I have a reluctant 7 and 10 because I just don't really, like you said, there's so many big changes that you never know when everything gets overhauled like that. You don't know where things are gonna land. Like I've said it already on this pod. Big fan of Dan Quinn. I was super excited they hired him. New OC, brand new defense, new quarterback, obviously. I think that they'll be more competitive, but they'll take a step in the right direction, but I think they still have such a long way to go in the NFC East. I'm excited to see how things look, but my biggest worry for them and for Jaden Daniels is their offensive line. I do not love what they have going on there, and you just worry about a situation like a Justin Fields where you can't really stay on the field, and I'm excited to watch him, but that's my biggest nervousness around the Commanders is their offensive line makes me so nervous. And looking at their schedule, starting against the Bucs, you've got a Todd Bowles defense, and then into week 3, like Bengals, week 5 Browns, Ravens, like they have a pretty tough stretch to start the season. And I worry about Jaden Daniels taking on, especially some of those defenses, if you have a few ham and eggers in front of you. Not to say that's line, but and I just don't love their depth. Like their offensive line is definitely what worries me the most about this. And I really want Jaden Daniels to do well. He did look really good, and you can really see the ceiling in that preseason game, but I just want him to stay healthy. That's my big worry.
I am very much on the same page with you. Again, not a surprise. I think this defense is going to carry this team because Dan Quinn's the one coordinating it, and they have some sneaky good guys on this team. Frankie Louvu, the guy best known for making plays and then making you go, who is that? One of my favorite guys in the NFL to watch since he's come into the league. I thought Carolina made a mistake letting him get away. And I'm glad he's with Dan Quinn now, who I think is going to capitalize on. Bobby Wagner, the ageless Bobby Wagner, is now with Washington with his old defensive coordinator from Seattle. Jeremy Chinn's back there. Never quite lived up to the hype with him, but still a pretty solid player. Mike Sanders still, the nickelback, came from Michigan, had a nice collegiate career. And you still have Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne up front. You got Dorrance Armstrong in free agency, not the biggest splash addition, but I think it's enough there to be competitive when you have the right coordinator, and I think they do in their head coach, Dan Quinn. Offensively, though, you're right. I mean, if you look at the offensive line, they pulled 2 of the lesser-known Chiefs from those teams, and Nick Allegretti and Andrew Wiley. Sam Cosmi is Sam Cosmi. Tyler Biotish comes over from Dallas, and then you got a rookie at left tackle and Brandon Coleman with Cornelius Lucas behind him. Not very confident in most of what they have up front. That could be a concern, but the good thing about Jaden Daniels is that he's mobile. He will be able to extend plays. He did not win the Heisman Trophy, in a fluke. He's a hell of a football player. That pass he had to De'Ami Brown in their preseason opening game against the Jets was a beauty and an example of what he could do. They finished that drive off with a read option touchdown. Right up his alley, right playing to his strengths. I think they'll be good enough to make me think that they'll take the over. I also love this schedule. I love the games against the Giants and the Cardinals and the Panthers and the Falcons and even the Bears and even the Titans. There's some winnable games here. And so for that reason, I'll go with the over.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. From the point of view that there will be good games on this schedule. I'm not saying they'll win them, but there will be good games on this schedule. And at least those games, I'm going with the under. I'm going to split from you two. I'm going to go under. I got them at 6 wins. I think they'll finish ahead of the Giants, but they still got some work to do. But you're going to see the improvement, right? 6 wins and some close losses. You're going to look at this and go, okay, I see what they're doing. I see things moving forward. In the chat real quick, Nick, if we can, we got a new one from our buddy Kumi. Most bleh team in sports.
The Giants?
Well, he posted that at 11:53 when we were talking about the Commanders.
He's talking about the Commanders, yeah. He's talking about the commies.
I mean, yeah. In all of sports, though, like, do you think about the Commanders less than you think about, like, the Colorado Rockies?
Trying to think of who the most forgettable team in sports. That's just my answer is always the Tennessee Titans.
Grady Sizemore's Chicago White Sox.
My answer would be the Colorado Rockies or the Washington Nationals
or the Pittsburgh Pirates.
No longer. Hey, if you have Paul Skeens, you think about them all the time.
That's true. That's the only thing making it watchable. You're right.
Yeah. All right. So that's the.
Jackets.
What's up?
So the Columbus Blue Jackets.
That is fair. That is fair.
Correct.
You only think about them if you accidentally think about Ohio State and then go, oh, yeah, they have a professional hockey team in Columbus.
Yeah, I hate Columbus except for Ohio State, and the Blue Jackets fall in the hate category there.
Great
to know. Let's move on to the AFC East, guys. We got a very top-heavy division, and by top-heavy, I mean 3 of the 4 teams. And then we've got 1 crap team. So... let's start off. What's up?
Just kidding. It's so obvious in their tears.
It is. Yes, it's so obvious. We're going to start off as we do with the division winners, which last year was the Buffalo Bills, because again, they won down the stretch. The Dolphins didn't. So yeah, let's start off with the Buffalo Bills. Nick, throw up their schedule for me.
Yes, sir. I'm clicking buttons as fast as humanly possible.
I feel like you could do it faster.
It's
All right, here we go.
not
Bills
going.
schedule starting off week 1 at home against the Cardinals. Then, hey, look at that. They're going to be down in a very steamy South Beach, or Miami Gardens, rather, against the Dolphins week 2. Week 3 against the Jags at home. Weeks 4, 5, 6 on the road against the Ravens, Texans, and Jets. That's a tough stretch. Week 7 against the Titans at home. Then on the road in Seattle. Week 9 at home against the Dolphins. Who made this schedule? I want to see Dolphins-Bills week 18. What are you doing? Week 10 on the road against the Colts, then at home against the Chiefs. Where have I seen that one before? Bye week is week 12, week 13 at home against the Niners, then weeks 14 and 15 on the road against the Rams and Lions. Then they're home for 2 weeks against the Pats and Jets, and then finish things off against the Patriots, week 18. Snorefest. This is a team that won 11 games last year. This is also a team that had to fire its offensive coordinator midseason. This is also a team that lost Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, but did draft Keon Coleman.
And lost Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. Don't forget that.
Man, I'm not high on the Bills. Like, I know they got Josh Allen, and I know they got Sean McDermott, but I don't know. I also don't want to set the line too low because then it's going to be too easy.
I'm curious.
Oh, man. This is a tough one. You can tell that I'm just coming up with this on the fly. I'm going 10.5.
10.5. I knew it was going to be 10.5.
Yeah.
10.5. We're going to go 10.5.
I have the over. I have 11-6 again. So I understand that you guys just walked everything through of like who they lost and whichever, and I do get that. They get Matt Milano back, which is huge. You get Daquan Jones back, which is huge. I think their defense can win them some games. Offense, their wide receiver situation is very fascinating because it is going to look so different. They added Curtis Samuel, who's kind of a like jack of all trades kind of guy. We get to see how ready Keon Coleman is for the NFL. He has an opportunity if he wants to step into a pretty big role. And for anybody that is as terminally online as I am, you already love Keon Coleman because he is just the most lovable, adorable, wonderful person to cheer for.
He loves Coles.
He does, but MVS, didn't they add him too? I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah,
MVS,
he's not getting much run in the offseason. I think that's because his career is about to end.
Yeah, I think so too. But like Khalil Shakir, there are guys that have a really big opportunity to step into a really big role. And I'm excited to see where that all falls. You have Josh Allen as your quarterback. I think they'll be okay, but I'm curious to see how it all kind of works out because I don't want to say that they phased out Stephon Diggs, but he definitely didn't have as big of a role in the back half of the season.
No, they kind of did. His playtime percentage went down significantly.
He still had 41% of their targets this season.
Yeah, but like snaps wise, it went from 98 to in the 60s by the end.
Yeah, it felt like such a noticeable difference that a lot of people are talking about how he's going to be gone, but I don't think he was a really, really big part of the offense in the back half of the year anyways. So I think 11-6, maybe 10. After week 1, they've got a tough stretch. And mid-November, they've got a really tough block. But overall, I think their defense can definitely win them some games. They've got Josh Allen. I think they're fine.
All right, let me go, Nick, real quick. They have that 3-week stretch against the Jags, not the Jags, the Ravens, Texans, Jets. That's going to be tough. Then you've got the Dolphins, Colts. Obviously, the Dolphins we know are good. The Colts are going to be a tough out. The Chiefs, duh. And then you've got a merciful bye week before the Niners, Rams, and Lions.
Great bye week placement. Great placement.
For real. That's going to be their saving grace, possibly. KD kind of sounded like a little bit of a corporate recruiter there. Hey, we've got a great opportunity for you. All of these
free
guys
beer
have
in the office on Fridays.
We're not going to pay you more. We're not going to, make your lives better. But man, you've got an opportunity. Here's my problem with the other thing you said. Their defense can win them some games. I don't care how good this defense has been throughout the years and has been good as of the last couple of years. Their problem is they always find themselves in a situation where Josh Allen has to win them games. And sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't. The question is, when they get into those situations this time around and they don't have Gabe Davis and they don't have Stephon Diggs, How many times is Josh Allen going to win them games this time around? So I'm going to go under, and I'll go 10 wins.
Gabe Davis, you're gonna like. I get it. He's a good receiver, but like, is he really the X factor? Gabe Dave,
The strength of your receiving core is more important than the strength of the individual receiver in most cases, save for Justin Jefferson and maybe like Jamar Chase. But
yeah, fair.
You're not wrong there, Katie. I'm going to jump in here by kind of finishing Katie's thought and Sean's thought too. Why did Stephon Diggs not get as many snaps down the stretch last year? Why did his usage rate kind of fall off a cliff at the end of the year? It's because they fired their offensive coordinator and replaced him with Joe Brady, who realized they didn't run the ball worth a damn during the Ken Dorsey era.
Yeah.
And guess who suddenly ran the football well under Joe Brady? The Buffalo Bills.
Whoa.
James Cook leading the way in the backfield. They got a rookie in Ray Davis that they like. My guy Darrington Evans is on that roster. Shout out to him. I think that they'll be more balanced, and the receiving issues on paper are not going to be as big as we believe them to be at this point. Keon Coleman, I'm not going to put all my stock in him because he had a great start to his collegiate career at Florida State in his 1 year with the Seminoles. Kind of tailed off at the end.
Kind of tailed off there. You're right.
Know that he's good on camera, and that's great. But that's not a Diggs replacement. This is not a replacing Diggs with Jefferson type of situation. So don't get your hopes as high and expect him to produce at that rate. I mean, the level at which Stephon Diggs produced was insane. Like, historically speaking, it was insane. Yeah. He was a volume receiver for years with them because they just threw the ball to him all the time. But the beauty of the offensive coordinator change now speaks to Sean's point. They're not going to ask Josh Allen to go win them as many games as they did in the past. The question is, can they be in a position in which they don't have to do that? Because on paper and just when it comes to scripting, they're not going to do that. They realized that they were leaning on him too much. I've been shouting at the heavens about it for years, and I was very happy to see them change philosophically once Joe Brady came into the fold. It's just a question of, are they going to be in range in some of these games to be able to not have to lean heavily on your superstar quarterback? That is the thing that I'm not certain about as at this point. That back half of the schedule, there is some seriously tough games, but they're on the cusp. Patriots, Jets, Patriots to end the year. They can win 2 out of those 3 by default and maybe all 3 and get into the playoffs that way. So what we're at 10.5, I'm going to go over. I'll go 11. Don't feel great about it. This is a team that's in transition. I don't think we feel as confident in this team as we have in the last 3 or 4 years, which is fine. It's justified. But when you look at the grand scheme of things and the way that the schedule sets up and the way that they've changed philosophically, offensively, as long as they stay healthy on the defensive side of the ball, like they don't lose Matt Milano in the middle of the season again, like they did last year, then I think they'll be okay.
I went back and forth so many times of 10 wins and 11 wins. I flip-flopped
it's right there. Times. It's right there, but I'm going to go under. I don't have a great feeling about them. All right, let's move on to the team that finished runner-up in the division last year, team that should have won the division, the Miami Dolphins. We are the Dolphins. Isn't that how it goes?
I don't know.
We are the Marlins, the Miami Marlins.
Yeah. I was thinking about the Marlins. Something about that. Both teams, by the way, finished 11-6.
Remember that song?
What is it?
We'll get base hits, home runs, double plays. Scott Stapp, Marlins will soar.
No, I don't. I don't at all.
Oh, we'll play it for you after we're done.
And I digest. The Dolphins playing 7-2 at home, 4-4 away, same as the Bills. These two teams, I mean, they had 2 great games last year as well. The Dolphins are, I feel like, already the anointed team to win this division this time around. A lot of people felt like they should have done it last year. Really?
Not one bit. And he was going.
I'm speaking to myself then.
Yes, you are.
Why do you let me host this podcast?
Damn. You got a great voice, Sean.
Yeah,
that is really true. That is true. It's what I lean on a lot of times when I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Week 1 at home against the Jags. Week 2 at home against the Bills. Then week 3 on the road against the Seahawks. Week 4 back at home against the Titans, who Katie thinks is the most forgettable team in all of sports. Week 5 on the road against the Pats. Then they've got a bye week, week 6. 7 on the road against the Colts. 8 at home against the Cards. 9 on the road against the Bills. 10 on the road against the Rams. Weeks 11 and 12 at home against the Raiders and Pats. Week 13 on the road at what should be at that point the frozen tundra. Week 14 at home against the Jets. 15 on the road against the Texans. Week 16 back home against the Niners, which depending on where these two teams are in the season should be like a primetime game. And then rounding off the season on the road for 2 weeks against the Browns and the Jets. They won 11 games last year. I see no reason why they can't get there this time around. As I look at their schedule real quick and do some quick math. You know what? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to say over under 11.5. Do I think they'll be better than last year?
I'm way under.
You're way under? Whoa. Way under.
Talk to me, Kate.
I have 9 and 8.
Whoa!
Is that way under? I was thinking like 8 and 9 here.
The second half of that schedule is wild. Those last 6 games, that's wild. I see the last third of the season, the Dolphins crashing and burning. Their offense.
Say this.
What?
I will say this. You have a good point when you look at that back half of the schedule because they are on the road against the Packers. Yes, they're on the road against the Texans inside a dome. But Browns and Jets, it's cold. We know this team doesn't play well against teams in the cold.
The thing is about the Dolphins, their offense is so funny to me because when they're good, they are so good. But it's largely been against shit teams. Like you put up 70 on Denver last year, 45 on the Commanders. I think it was 42 against the Panthers. And then in the wild card round against the Chiefs, you put up 7 points. Like, I just don't trust them against good teams. On defense, they lost Christian Wilkins, which I think is a really big loss. Sean, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Shaq Barrett, but honestly, this team...
He retired.
Oh, yeah.
That's his thought. That's his thought. He no longer plays
for he doesn't play anymore. Happy retirement to him.
That's my thought. About the retirement.
Oh my God, that's what I knew. I knew that happened.
You know what? He walked into the locker room, took one look, and went, "Nah, I'm out, fam."
And he was like, "No, get me." Oh my God, I forgot he retired. I felt like I dreamt that. Anyways, so good thoughts on that, Sean. But we talked about this last season in the division preview. Like, so much of it has to do with how Tua plays, with Tua's health. Their offense is so good when it's on. Like I said, I just don't trust them. Their defense is good. I just think the Bills are going to be better, and I think the Jets could be better. I think 3 teams could make the playoffs, but the Dolphins, to me, man, they just lost my trust last year. You just didn't know which version of them was going to show up to each game.
Sorry, I'm just doing the math again.
Yeah, you know, I'll go Nick here real quick.
Yeah.
So after setting the line at 11.5, just going through this schedule, I think honestly this team has the potential to be like one of the last or the last undefeated team in the league because I'm looking at that first half of the schedule.
Yeah.
I know they can beat the Jags. I think they can beat the Bills early in the season at home in the heat. They can beat the Seahawks, beat the Titans, beat the Patriots, come back. They can beat the Colts. They can beat the Cardinals. And then you're staring at possibly like 6-1, 7-0, and then things get tough. You have to go on the road against the Bills, on the road against the Rams, who are going to be tough. Raiders, Patriots, easy. Knock those 2 off. This is you're right. This is a back half loaded schedule. Packers are going to be tough. Jets are going to be tough. The fact that they get the Jets twice in the final 5 weeks, along with the Texans, Browns, and 49ers. Starting week 13. I mean, that's when things get really tough, but I've got them at 11 wins.
Stretch.
So I'm going to go under, but I think they can still win the division with 11 wins. So I'm going to go 11 wins. But I will go under.
I think 11.5. If you look at the schedule, it's too high. But like if you're looking at last year and you're looking at this team, it's not too high. It's not unfair. I mean, this offense is loaded, dude. Like they might have the deepest backfield in the NFL. Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, Jalen Wright had a really nice preseason debut. Like Jeff Wilson's an afterthought in this depth chart now because they just have so much talent there. They got a ton of talent at receiver. If Odell ever plays, who the hell knows? But like they can work around that.
Oh, right. I forgot about him.
Exactly. He hasn't done anything.
I think he just went down to Miami for the boat picks, to be honest with you.
Well, look, this guy's fond of Miami. He lives in LA. He knows a good party city when he sees one. Defensively, they should be better because Anthony Weaver is their DC now. Like that was their problem last year was that Vic Fangio and that defense never really like meshed. And they have a lot of talent on that side of the ball. This should be a team that should be like a outside Super Bowl contender. But then I look at that schedule, and I totally agree with you, Sean. I look at this, and I'm thinking you could be 8-0 after week 9, but your bye week's already gone. You play the Rams, who are sneaky tough. You play the Raiders, who supposedly might have a good defense, but offensively they are challenged, and you need offense to beat the Dolphins. And then once you get to week 13 on, they could lose all those games. Like
they could do what the Eagles did last year.
They really could.
You could be 8-1 or 9-1 after week 12, if math serves me correct. It was never my strong suit. And then lose the last 6. So I'm also going to go under because I think 11.5 is like not their ceiling, but because the way the schedule is, they really got to find a way to win a couple of those games. And Packers, Jets, Texans, Niners, and the fact that the Browns game is in Cleveland, like, I don't know what the Browns are going to be. They could be a sinking ship at that point, but the fact that it's cold, if they're anything near what they were last year, that's going to be a hellacious environment for the Dolphins to walk into. Week 17, we're talking like late December in Cleveland, winds swirling, the snow. It looks like a snow globe at Cleveland Browns Stadium. I've been in those situations. I've watched teams come from warm weather climates that were better than the Browns and just give up and lay down. I saw the Chargers do it in a 7-6 loss there one time when it was 42 degrees and raining the entire game. Phillip Rivers wanted nothing to do with that weather. And I don't think the Dolphins are going to want anything to do with that weather. Then you finish with like week 18 at the Jets with like your playoff lives on the line. Yeah, I'm going under. Not because they're not a good team. It's just, this is a gauntlet, man.
It is. Who made the schedules this year? I feel like the NFL was very just wild with the schedule creations this year for a lot of different teams. So we're all going under. Interesting. I feel stupid for setting it at 11.5, but again, like you said, Nick, because of what they did last year and what they could do this year, yeah, it's fair. Moving on, we've got everyone's favorite team in this division, Katie, the New York Football Jets.
Oh, you know how big of a fan I am of Aaron Rodgers and about talking about him. I
Throw
just
Rogan?
can't get enough. Throw
Chucker Carlson?
Pass rush Limbaugh?
Jets finished 7-10 last year after the Aaron Rodgers era in the Meadowlands lasted all of 5 snaps. He's back this year, reportedly, healthy, reportedly, and fully focused, reportedly,
Allegedly,
on football. Yeah. Drama aside, this is a team that has... Well, you know what? I can't say drama aside because Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. And as we record this just hours ago, Hassan Reddick, the guy, their big offseason splash that they traded for, is demanding a trade because they haven't been able to reach contract negotiations with him or been able to reach a contract extension with him. He has demanded a trade, and the Jets have now released a statement saying that they will not trade him and will continue to fine him as per the CBA. So the drama is already swirling. We are only in the second preseason week of training camp. We haven't even played 2 preseason games yet, and the drama in New York has already started. And that's before Aaron Rodgers has even opened his mouth. But we're counting on this team to win the division and to make a Super Bowl run, all because Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback?
Look,
maybe.
Man,
I don't know.
I love this energy from you right now.
It's the only piece they were missing, though. Like, I totally hear you, and I'm totally tired of the drama and like Robert Saleh has been put in an unwinnable position over the last couple of years, but at the same time, like this team is freaking low. Like their defense has been championship level good for the last couple of years. They have a lot of stuff.
I'm totally with you. All right, let me read off their schedule here and we'll get to it. Week 1 at the 49ers, week 2 at the Titans, weeks 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry.
And 6.
Well, wait, no, Nick. There's a London game in there. Weeks 3 and 4 at home against the Patriots and Broncos. Then they're in jolly old England against the Vikings for week 5. Week 6 back at home against the Bills. Kind of shitty, NFL, pardon my French, that you're not giving them a bye week after their London trip. Then week 7 and 8 on the road against the Steelers and Pats. Week 9 against the Texans at home. Then they're on the road against the Cardinals. Week 10, 11 at home against the Colts. Bye week is week 12. Old man Rodgers might be feeling it by that point. Week 13 at home against the Seahawks. Then on the road, 14 and 15 against the Dolphins and Jags. 16 back home against the Rams. 17 on the road against the Bills. And then back home against the Dolphins to wrap things up. You want to talk about a back-loaded schedule? I mean, I don't know what the Seahawks are going to be, but I know the Dolphins are going to be good. The Jaguars aren't going to be pushovers. Rams aren't going to be pushovers. Bills are going to be good. Dolphins are going to be good. That is a tough weeks 13 through 18. Not to mention you've still got, the Steelers, Texans, and 49ers sprinkled in there. They won 7 games last year with a quarterback, with a decent quarterback. This is a good team. So I'm going 10.5.
Katie.
As you can see, I think these 3 teams that we've just discussed are very close to one another.
Yeah, I agree. I have 10 and 7 for the Jets. Their schedule looks relatively easy compared to the last one we were just looking at.
Well, they have a 3rd place schedule.
Yeah. But, gotta keep all my Rodgers thoughts in my indoor voice. As we spoke about last year, like, this team depends on how Aaron Rodgers is able to play. He obviously played like 4 seconds last year, didn't work out, but he's turning 41 in December. And I've spoken about how my body feels as a mid-30s woman, and I'm not a professional athlete. And I'm in a lot of pain for just sleeping weird on my neck. But, like you said, the team is
Have you
good.
tried ayahuasca?
That's a personal question for
darkness
off-air.
retreat?
Sean, I'm from the East Kootenays in British Columbia. We get into some weird stuff here.
They dabble.
I don't want to say anything illegal on the pod. Mike Williams, big fan of him. He's a good pickup with the big asterisk of if he can stay healthy. Breece Hall's amazing. I love their defense. That's where I think all of their wins came from last season. I don't know. Is it quite as good as last year? I think it could be. Still top tier. I think they have the best defensive backfield, maybe in the NFL. So they definitely have some big bright spots. All of it kind of lands on what is Aaron Rodgers going to look like. We really haven't seen him in a long time. Post-injury. That's all I want to spend a lot of time on Aaron Rodgers.
I think you handled that diplomatically, Katie. Good on you.
It was a challenge. It was my first big challenge of the pod.
Yeah,
Almost like we were talking about someone who was a potential VP pick.
Yeah, way to go, Governor. Good job. Yeah. Wait, what was it at, Sean? What did you set the line at?
10.5.
10.5.
I'm gonna go over. Over at 11. That defense is gonna keep them in every game. And
they're so good.
I think that they're gonna come out of that first 9 weeks with 7 wins. They'll probably lose to the Niners and they'll lose maybe to the Texans. They're going to beat the Titans, Patriots, Broncos, Vikings, Bills, Steelers, and Patriots again. Okay. They're going to beat the Cardinals. They're going to beat the Colts. They're going to beat the Seahawks. They might lose. They might split with the Dolphins. They're going to beat either the Jags or Rams. Yeah. 11 feels conservative. It all depends on the quarterback, of course. They're better prepared for the emergency situation, but even then, it all comes down to Aaron Rodgers being healthy. And we don't know who he is because he didn't play last year. So it's a big question mark.
He didn't look very good at the end of his time in Green Bay. He did not.
He also was actively resisting getting on the same page with his young teammates and Matt LaFleur, which is a big reason why the Packers were much better without him in the year after him, especially down the stretch, because those guys all bought in and Aaron Rodgers refused to. I don't think buy-in is going to be a problem. I don't think talent around him is going to be a problem. In fact, they even went and signed Tyron Smith this year because they know they can't keep offensive line healthy. The defense is fantastic, and they are going to be a tough out in every game they play, as long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy and playing adequately or better. Having said that, I don't see them winning the Super Bowl, but I think that they are very much going to be in contention for the AFC East, if not winning the division, as much as it pains me to say that, because it's not that I hate the Jets, but I'm really tired of the Jets hype coming from last year. Feels like we just got it all, like we just put it off. It's like buy now, pay later. Well, we bought last year and we're now going to have to pay for it. It's tough to say, but they're going over. They're going over. They're going to win 11 games. They might win more, and we're all just going to have to deal with it.
I'm going under. I've got 9 wins because I've seen this play before. I've seen this movie before. 2 years ago, I covered this movie when there was an aging quarterback with a talented team around him that should have been in the Super Bowl or at least won the division handily. I mean, this is a more talented version, honestly, of the 2022 Buccaneers with Tom Brady. I mean, you're looking at a team that was 2 years removed from winning a Super Bowl, an overtime away from being back in the NFC title game, and then they just fell off a cliff because people started aging. Things got stagnant. I think that's going to happen here. I'm not saying that. I mean, obviously 9 wins coming off of 7 wins isn't bad, but when you make those splash trades, when you still have Aaron Rodgers and still need to see him basically throw a touchdown in your uniform a year into this. Yeah, it's just I don't trust things to be good in the Meadowlands. I don't trust Aaron Rodgers to be normal. I don't trust this team as far as I can throw them. Like something's going to happen down the line. So I've got 9 wins.
This is such a good episode for Katie laughter fits. Like unmute yourself. I need to hear your laughter because I can see it right now. She's crying.
Sorry. I don't trust Aaron Rodgers to be normal. That sent me right to the sun. I mute my mic instantly.
This is why you need to watch on YouTube, Twitch, any other video platform. Sometimes I put the video on the
Katie,
Spotify
you are so
pod.
red right now.
That made me laugh really hard. I'm a hater before anything. And I happen to be a bit of a hater of Aaron Rodgers.
Somebody need to put some water in Buck Nasty's mama's bowl.
All right.
Hate.
Last team in the AFC East, and then we're done for the night. We don't need to spend much time on this team.
I don't know. Hey, speak for yourself. I'm high on the Patriots. I can't even pretend. No.
Nice.
30
You
seconds.
had me going there.
You can now go back to muting your mic. You can now go back to muting your mic. We got the Patriots. For the first time in 2 decades, Bill Belichick is not the head coach. You got Gerard Mayo. Drake May is going to be the quarterback. They did sign Jacoby Brissett, which I do like. Okay, I do appreciate that. Aside from that, man, this team, they're looking at They're looking at the number 1 overall pick. That's what the Pats are looking at this year. And I don't know if I'm looking forward to it as someone that, hated the Patriots growing up, because this isn't the Patriots that I hated.
No.
Right? Like this isn't I don't feel good that they're bad. I feel good that their fans are in misery. That's kind of fun. And I look forward to that. Like again, hate, salty. All right, starting off week 1 against the Bengals. Week 2 on the road Week 1 on the road against the Bengals. Week 2 at home against the Seahawks. Weeks 3 and 4 against the Jets and Niners on the road. Then you've got weeks 5 and 6 at home against the Dolphins and Texans. Then they are in London to take on the Jags. That's home.
That's a road game. That's a road game. That's Jags country.
Oh, I was about to say it's in London. Yeah, correct. It is a road game because the Jags, right? No one's going to be rooting for the Patriots in England. Week 8, back at home against the Jets. Then week 9 on the road against the Titans. 10 on the road against the Bears. 11 back at home against the Rams. 12 at the Dolphins. 13 at home against the Colts. Bye week is week 14. With such a young team, maybe they can take that. I don't know. That's still such a late bye week. Weeks 15 and 16 on the road against the Cardinals and Bills. Then they wrap things up with a 2-game homestand against the Chargers and Bills. What did this team finish last year? 4-13.
Cool.
I'm going 4.5. Do they even get to where they did last year? I mean, this is a bad team. I will say this. Bill Belichick made some really questionable coaching decisions last year. Like, Nick, what was the game? I was at your house watching it, and he left Mac Jones in there for the entire game.
Oh, yeah.
And then brought out Bailey Zappi for the 2-minute drill.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh, it was a Thursday nighter. Oh, so funny.
Prime time.
And Bailey Zappi proceeds to throw an interception to seal the deal. Like, they had momentum. They could have won the game. And then he goes, Bailey, get in there. Like, what are you doing?
That was
a
good
dumb
Bill
coaching
Belichick
decision.
impression.
What's up?
That was a really good Bill Belichick impression, by the way.
Bailey, get in there. Mac, get out. Bailey, get in there.
Unemployment.
We're on to the number 2 pick.
I love this.
It's amazing that this team didn't have the number 1 overall pick last year because the Panthers were so terrible. So, yeah, 4.5. I'm going under. I'm not going to spend much time on this team. If the only reason that they can get back to 4 wins again is like Gerard Mayo can't be as bad as Bill Belichick was last year, which seems he at least has to make some smarter coaching decisions. Like, at least grant him that. He's not going to be so stuck in his ways, right? Like, Bill Belichick he is not the rock or the hard place. He is both the immovable object and the unstoppable force. He will not change his ways for anybody. And that was him being a stubborn jackass. It's just what it was. I don't think Gerard Mayo is going to do those same things.
Gerard Mayo is also not handling this job very well so far.
No?
The whole Matt Judon thing, the whole I'm going to go out there and not participate in padded practice because I still want a new contract, and I'm going to sit next to my teammates as they do drills. I'm going to sit on an upside-down trash can, and then Gerard Mayo's going to come get in my face, and we're going to have a discussion, and then I'm going to go storm off into the facility.
I did not see this.
Yes, this is what dominated the start of last week's news cycle. I know because I had to deal with it. And it's just not a good sign for a first-time coach, and I don't think that – I think the Patriots are in uncharted waters, and this schedule's tough, and he's a rookie head coach, and they don't have a quarterback. Like, they have a Jacoby Brissett, and they have a rookie who's, I don't know, not a very high ceiling at this point. I know he's a high draft pick, but not a very high ceiling. So I know I've interrupted you, Katie, but like schedule-wise with everything else that's going on with this team right now, I just think they're in flux, and it's not going to go well. And I'm just going to get to my point, too. I'm going to go under as well.
Yeah, not an interruption. I do not have a lot of thoughts or feelings about the Patriots this year. I always like seeing a rookie quarterback, but I just don't think we're going to see Drake May right away. I'm a fan of Jacoby Brissett. I think I'm higher on him than a lot of people.
Let me ask you this then.
Their receiver room, what?
I was going to say, look, can I ask you this then? Sorry to interrupt, but it seems like we're all going under, right?
I have like 3 and 14 is what I'm thinking. Maybe 4.
Let me change the line then on the fly. Let me ask you this. Over under, this is the worst team in the NFL.
Over.
Yeah,
they're not. They still have talent. Like they still. I like Jalen Polk. Kayshon Boutte is an interesting guy in that depth chart. Also great last name. Hunter Henry's still capable at tight end. They got Austin Hooper as well. Ramondre Stevenson they just paid. The offensive line's not terrible. They were a messy team by the time.
Their receiver room makes me sad.
And they just they committed a bunch of mistakes.
Cut Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah,
that's fine. How bad do you have to be cut by the Patriots?
Oh God.
Well, bad enough to get back on TikTok. Defensively, they still have some studs back there. I mean, Kyle Duggar, Christian Gonzalez, who got hurt last year. Judon, if he figures out, he's back to practice. Like he stopped his little mini hold-in thing that's going on there. Davin Godchaux, if Christian Barmore can actually play, because there was a bit of a health concern with him last week. And Gerard Mayo's a defensive-minded coach, and defense, if you're good enough, can keep you in games. So like they could start 1-1. They could beat the Seahawks on like a fluky win, and then not win another game until like week 9 or 10. And so like they're not going to have a lot of wins just because the schedule, the way it sets up, there's just not a lot of winnable games for this team. But that's not to say that they're not going to be competitive. And that's why I think they're not going to be the worst team in the NFL.
All right.
Who is?
Probably the New York Giants. Carolina's in the running. Yeah, that's it.
I think it's between the Carolina. They might be in there, actually. It might be the Patriots.
It might be the Patriots.
I don't think they will be. I think they could be one of the 4 worst teams in the NFL.
It's between them, the Giants. I'll throw the Panthers in there, but I like Dave Canales, obviously. So I'm going to go between the Patriots and the Giants, which we both covered tonight. And we've covered now 2 divisions in episode 43 of the Gridiron Podcast. Do we want to do hate it and love it?
Yeah, end it the right way.
We got to end it the right way. Nick, what's your hate?
I hate losing my power.
I was about to say that's an easy one.
Dude, I was like a nomad for 3 days. At one point,
how much should you spend on coffee just to like maintain your spot at the coffee house?
$20 probably.
No, that's not bad.
$4 on parking downtown. Bought a breakfast. I spent $20 at one cafe on a breakfast burrito and an Americano, and it was actually quite a pleasant setup. I was sitting there with my neighbor getting some work done, and then another day I got a coffee at Rising Star, but not happy. So like, ever since I was a kid, because the way I grew up in like a kind of an unstable home environment between my 2 parents' houses, like I've always wanted to control my home environment. Like that's my safety. When you lose power and suddenly you can't work from home and your job is to work from home and you are on camera and you have to do all these things, it's like, holy hell, how am I going to get my job done? I'm working off my work phone in a coffee shop or off a laptop or something. This is not comfortable. This is not the best situation for productivity. Not to mention, in your free time, if you want to watch a TV show or listen to music on a speaker that's Bluetooth and plugged in somewhere, or play College Football 25 or something, you can't do any of that. So I hate losing my power, and everybody who lost their power longer than me, I'm sorry, but I'm glad we're all back on the same page. And the beauty of it is there was a strange level of camaraderie. I met more strangers last week just because I had something to talk to them about, like a little foot in the door. Like some girl sitting next to me at a coffee shop, and she looks at me, she's like, hey, is the Wi-Fi like not working? And I was like, yeah, they're going off hotspot here. You're out of power too? Yeah. Oh, where do you live? Oh, I live in Lakewood. Oh, I live in Ohio City down the road. Oh, yeah, it really sucks. We lost ours this time. Yeah, I know. I heard we're not going to get it back till next Tuesday. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, what do you do for work? That type of thing. Like that, all that, you typically don't do that. So
question for you. Did you have to do any TV hits from these coffee shops? Where can I see this TV hit? Did people around you start to like look at you and be like, what the hell is this guy doing?
That would have been hilarious.
That you're famous?
No, the beauty of it is that I'll be back on TV in week 1. But I am doing NFL Daily once or twice a week. And me and Greg had a taping set for Sunday. Luckily, we did our taping previously on a Monday or a Sunday the week prior. And so I got out of the way right before the power went out. But as we got to like Thursday, I'm like, dude, I got to do the show on Sunday. I got to watch preseason games live and write about them on Friday, which means I need multiple screens. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And then thankfully, right around midnight, I'm down the flats with my neighbor. I get a text from my other neighbor who lives next door. He said, hey, power's back. I'm sure it's back for you. And we partied like the Cavs won the championship again. I'm not kidding you. It was cause for celebration, and I paid for it the next day, but it was all worth it.
Nick got blacked out to celebrate the end of a blackout.
Essentially, yes.
Do you guys remember the great blackout of 2024? Are you talking about the night we had?
Or
I'm
in it.
2003.
Katie, do you have a hate?
So always. Which one do I choose? Nick, I'm happy that it's back right now because you text us that it was going to be back on the 14th.
Yeah, which is
so
tomorrow.
It feels like we're in like bonus days that you have power back. I'm so thrilled for you.
House money, baby.
That is so great.
Yeah.
My hate this week, I touched on it at the top. I hate that the Olympics are over.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize how much I needed to wake up and have my coffee and then watch like fencing and something like that. Something that I would otherwise never watch. It feels like you're microdosing sports, and that's just really fun.
It's a good way of looking at it. I will say, I think I watched more Olympics this year than ever before. And obviously, I know this is obviously the American broadcaster, NBC, Katie, but like they did such a good job of making the Olympics accessible throughout the entire day and then recapping everything at night. I thought it was a great setup. I thought it was, if you had Peacock or whatever streaming service around the world, like it was great. And I was captivated by fencing and by synchronized diving, and it's awesome. I can't wait till Italy 2026 and then LA 2028. That's gonna be a lot of fun, man.
That's gonna be so chaotic. I love how LA is like, oh no, it's okay, you won't have to drive here, teehee. It's like, yeah, come on, has anyone ever been to LA?
Right.
Bullshit. Yeah, it's the worst city for public transit in America. Good luck.
Exactly.
Gridlock.
And they're
Real
like,
quick.
oh yeah, every single event will be accessible by bus or train. I'm like, approve it.
Yeah, no, don't think so. Is the Hyperloop going to be in then? Is Elon's Hyperlink going to be in? Real quick, in the chat, Kumi had one quick question that I do want to address. What's the crew's take on Olympic breakdancing?
I'm so happy you asked.
Well, first off, Kumi, it's breaking. Get it right.
Yeah.
Duh.
Actually, it's breaking.
It's breaking.
I come from a gold medalist country of breaking, so happy you asked.
Pish posh. I'm gonna walk out now.
Did you not watch Philip Wizard, Nick? If
No.
you did, you wouldn't be bringing that attitude. That was so sick what he did.
I don't have Peacock. I caught it on the various NBC affiliate channels.
Ooh, I implore every single one of our viewers and listeners to go watch what Philip Wizard did. Phil Wizard is our guy, and
Is his last name really Wizard?
no, I don't remember what his last name is, but he goes by Phil Wizard.
I think
10 out of 10, gold medal, 10 stars.
If you want to count that gold medal, I'm happy for our neighbors to the north, Katie.
Thanks. First and only.
I'm happy.
He's not coming back.
I think the IOC was watching breaking happen and just cringed and was like, this will never happen again. I don't know why it was. Like, breakdancing was popular 30 years ago. Why is it now in the Olympics in 2024? It's
never not been popular.
Is Paris such a big breakdancing hub that we needed it? Like, obviously they're putting softball, baseball in the LA games because it's so popular in America. Is it so popular in Paris that it needed to be in there? It was, honestly, you obviously the woman from Australia, you watch that and you go, this is embarrassing. Like, that is not an Olympian. And
Sean, you do not want to go there with me.
I'll go there with you. No, I'll go there with you.
I would take a bullet for Raygun.
Okay.
I would do anything for that woman. Anything. I love. She's the highlight of the Olympics. Everybody knows who she is.
The actual assassin from Turkey winning a silver medal. That's the highlight of the Olympics. That man is a hit.
And you're right.
I don't
you're
care
right.
what you tell
you're
me.
Right.
That
man has seen some shit in his life. I would like to sit down and do like a sit-down 60-minute interview with that man. Good Lord, we could learn some things.
Peel that onion back.
Ooh, there's some layers to that onion, and I bet a lot of them are very illegal. Way too calm.
Sure.
It's like John Wick. The Turkish John Wick was asked to go compete in the Olympics for country.
I am such a fan of breakdancing, of breaking. I was so thrilled that it was part of it. It was like one of the highlights for me. But the best part of the Olympics is when everybody's on the same page at the same time. Like with the football communities, we feel that with F1, like you go on Twitter and things are happening, but this was different. This was global. This is something that you go out into town, everybody's talking about Raygun and how did this woman make it or whichever. Like, I came out wanting to see a 10-part documentary series on that woman. Because I feel like we've been begging for it because she's got a story of how she got there.
It's about 9.5 episodes too long.
Oh, I've always wanted the Olympics to have like one regular person first and then everyone else shows like how
Pros versus Joes.
Yeah, literally. Like I've always wanted that at the Olympics. And I felt like she was that for us. Where she was a woman out like doing the sprinkler and stuff on the dance floor, and then other people go after, and you're like, oh my god, holy shit, they're really good. But she is someone that I will remember for the rest of my life, and I think that is so much more special coming out of an Olympics 5 years after that, where I will remember Phil Wiz. But other than that, like there's a lot of memories that kind of just go by the wayside, but she will forever be attached to the Paris Olympics, and I just love that. I love that for her. I love that for Australia, for all of us that got to watch it. 10 out of 10. No notes for her.
You know what that sounds like, Nick, to me? Sounds like it comes from a country that's just not used to winning at the Olympics.
I also grew up a dancer, so like seeing any form of dancing in the Olympics is very energizing.
The Summer Olympics, I'm sorry. Winter Olympics, y'all are kings. We can't compete with y'all in Norway. Like, that's your games. We get that.
Canada we had a good Olympics.
Kumi.
Say that to Summer McIntosh.
Kumi with a great message here, Sean. Get ready.
Sean's last place penalty in fantasy. Oh, sorry. Sean's last place penalty in fantasy is having to sit down for an interview with Raygun for Tampa local news. I would do that. That would be awesome.
I would
actually.
watch that.
I would do that. You know the pommel horse Ken, Steve, Nedorosik? Yeah, he's a local.
He is?
Yeah, he's from Boston, went to Penn State, but he lives and trains in Sarasota now.
Oh my god, let's get him on the pod.
I probably could. We sent a crew down to do his. He came back pretty early. He didn't stay for the closing ceremonies, but we were there as he landed at Bradenton Sarasota International Airport, and he is every bit as. He's the guy you see on TV. That is the guy.
You buried the lead. I would have started the podcast with that.
I didn't interview him. We sent
just
a crew
the fact
down.
that he's from your town. You buried the lead.
An hour south. He lives in Sarasota. But congrats to him for bringing home 2 bronze medals.
Can I say one thing real quick? I hate it or love it. First off, is completely off the rails. I don't want to hear love. I think we just tackled all of them at once. But I do want to say As somebody who has watched LeBron James since his freshman year of high school at St. Vincent St. Mary, it was so gratifying to watch Team USA win the gold medal in the fashion in which they did. The fact that they had to come back to beat Serbia, the fact that it was him and Kevin Durant and Steph Curry all joining forces and screaming in each other's faces. Melo's courtside and he's screaming in Melo's face as they come back to pull off a triumphant win, and then they go beat France and Steph closes it out the next day. I've really in the last few years tried to take a moment to be watch LeBron as much as you can because he's going to be gone really soon. And I still am not emotionally prepared for the day that he retires.
We've been saying that for 9 years.
Yeah.
It's like that old tweet. LeBron's 30. This shit's got to end pretty soon.
Tell you what,
25 years later.
Yeah.
I know hate it, love it's off the rails, but I'll do 2 in 1. My hate is that people are now saying, "Oh, LeBron and Steph got to do whatever it takes to just team up one time." No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they really don't. You don't want to see that. It's not going to end well. It's most likely not going to end well. They don't need to do that. Just appreciate them for what they have done and what they will continue to do separately. And my love, my God, I did not expect to wake up Sunday morning and be so emotionally, physically attached to a women's basketball game like that. My God. USA France in the gold medal game for women's basketball. Every bucket, every second, I felt like I was at a college basketball game because I knew every second counted. My God, what a slugfest. And then Gabby Williams, foot on the line, banks it in at the end. I had to take a step back. Oh my God, French has tied it. French has tied it. No, wait, her foot was on the line. Was it a foul? Probably should have looked at if it was a foul.
Not in FIBA, baby. That's another reason why the Olympics are great. Because FIBA, they let them play. Man.
They let them play, which I kind of like.
The rim. Oh, I love FIBA rules.
My God, my last impression of the Olympics, my last impression of the Olympics was just so amazing. And the funniest part of it all is, did you guys watch the closing ceremony at all?
No.
I know, because you would have noticed the last national anthem we heard, the last medal awarded was for women's marathon. And the winner in front of 90,000 people at Stade de France was amazing. From the Netherlands.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had to hear the Dutch, us as F1 fans, had to be triggered one more time before the Olympics closed and hear the Dutch national anthem.
I saw somebody post a
oh
meme,
my
and it was
God.
it was the Peter Griffin clip from A Family Guy when he's about to skydive, and they're like, first time, and he goes, oh, no, not my first time.
My girlfriend was sitting on the couch with me. We were watching the closing ceremonies. It was beautifully done, and they get up on the podium, and she's like, "Who are these girls?" She's like, "Oh, that was the women's marathon. I guess the marathon's the last medals given out." And the girl in orange gets up, and I'm like, "Oh no!" She goes, "Is she from the Netherlands? Turn it off. Put it on mute. Put it on mute." So triggered by that dang Dutch national anthem. But I thought that was so fitting, and I forgot to text you guys about that.
Nice, Katie. Nice. Good job. Well done.
I didn't ever imagine a world in which I'd be so hyper familiar with an instrumental version of a national anthem of a country I've never been to. But here we are.
Here we are. And we're one step away from just wearing orange head to toe, even though Katie hates orange and Sean goes, actually, it's papaya.
I don't hate
orange.
it
is orange. For
well, you said it's one of your
color
least favorite
WNBA.
colors.
It is.
But, you know.
I know.
This has been episode 43 of the Gridiron Podcast. Thanks so much for sticking with us for this hour-and-a-half podcast. This is a great one, by the way, if you had to chop it up, because we covered 2 divisions, both the NFC and AFC East. As always, please drop a like, a listen, a review, and if you can, and you'd like to, you can email us at thegridironpodcast3@gmail.com. That's thegridironpodcast3@gmail.com. We do appreciate your emails. Yeah. Guys, any last notes? Nope. No. Cool. Awesome. For Nick Shook, Katie Caldwell, I'm Sean Barie, and as always, live life in the fast lane.
And be sure to tip Sean for not saying, damn those other two, when he listed the email this week.
I was about to whisper, damn those other two.
Damn those other two.
Good night, Netherlands.
Good night, Canada. Good night,
America.